Mr. Eddie Nunez wants to know about this NYC proposal. I read about this a little bit. Let's take a look at this. Over on Drone DJ, we've got new drone authorization rules. Officials in New York are proposing changes to rules that strictly regulate drone activity within New York City, but UAV businesses and other operators aren't likely to be singing the praises of liberalization just yet. So the question that was posed is, it is going to essentially ban drones, but doesn't New York City already essentially ban drones? Like, my read of this was that drones in New York City are de facto banned already. The airspace, there, because of the airports and all the other things, the airspace is basically, can we get to like, can we see the airspace restrictions? Is there a web version of Kitty Hawk or something? I don't think so. Like, New York City is largely a no-fly zone. There are absolutely, I assume, rules about taking off and landing within New York City. I assume that New York just bans that outright. So, like, right now, they're already banned, aren't they? So the idea behind this, as I read it, was that they're going to create a permitting system that eases the ability of companies and so forth to get permission to fly, although after a 30-day wait and a $150 fee per request. It's interesting because they know that they're not allowed to regulate the airspace. That's the federal government. But there are always ways for municipalities to get around that, like by regulating takeoff and landing. The film company sued the municipality over its smothering drone rules. The firm argued that New York strictures violated the FAA non-preemption rule, which says that only the FAA can regulate the national airspace. They're amending the administrative code to allow them to make rules. To notice that they're enforcing provisions on the takeoff and landing. They are allowed to do that. They can't regulate the airspace, but they can regulate takeoff and landing. That's allowed. I'm not sure about this. Like, we could leave comments, but obviously New York City is going to do this and will need to be sued to change it. Right? Oh, thank you, Eric Toft. Let's just take a look. What's going on in New York City? This is the Before You Fly app, the online version of it. And what we want to find is New York. New York? Hello? Where am I? Newark. Here we go. This is Manhattan. What do we got? What are these overlays? What are they? Do I click here? Oh, there we go. Class B airspace, Hudson River, so that's a no-go. Yeah. Here we got some airports. I guess there's... Oh, yeah, no. There's... Like, none of it is... It's all controlled airspace. Class B airspace, East River exclusion area. Yeah, it's all controlled airspace anyway. So what's the idea here? We can leave comments. Oh, a government will be like, hey, you know what? I guess we should just let them do whatever they want and not charge $150 and have fines. I don't know. Brandon Bean says can you get approval in New York City via Lance? That would be interesting. According to that, there's a small section on the west of Long Island that's clear for flight. Interesting. But as far as I can tell, they're allowed to do this legally. So the question is, can we, via our comments, stop them from doing it? And I think the answer is probably so. Let's take. If you want to leave comments, go right ahead. People in the chat are telling me that it's actually pretty easy to get Lance approval and fly in New York City, which surprises me. But
Lance approval does not mean you can fly. You know what I mean? It just means you can fly in the air, but it doesn't mean you can take off and land. So it doesn't change anything about the rule. Right?
Does New York City currently prohibit takeoffs and landings?
As far as I know, yes. I think that changed a couple years ago.
I think so too.
Because Casey Neistat used to do a bunch of those videos, and then he had to stop when he came back to New York because as far as I understand, that's why he doesn't do drone videos in New York anymore. Is because he was told he wasn't allowed to take off and land.
Okay, so for those who are unaware, the FAA regulates the airspace, but individual municipalities can regulate takeoffs and landings because the takeoff and landing does not occur in the airspace. It's sort of touching the ground. That's where they've drawn the line. So if someone wants to ban drone flying, but the FAA says, no, you can't regulate the airspace, what they do is they ban takeoffs and landings. What that means is that if you take off from somewhere else and fly into the airspace, you're technically legal, but you couldn't take off from that place. And when it comes to remote controlled aircraft, that distinction often doesn't matter since you're never flying very far from where you take off or land. So hand launching does not break that restriction. Sorry. So whether you get Lance approval or not, although here's a Tom Scott video which says that they were able to fly legally. What is he flying? Oh, he's not flying an RC aircraft though. Okay. You'd have to take off from New Jersey. Lucid Vax says, I just saw a video of someone flying up the Empire State Building, took off and landed on the sidewalk. That doesn't mean that it was actually illegal may not be the right word, but that doesn't mean that the city is okay with it and wouldn't have fined him for doing it if they had caught him. Right?